Scream of the Shalka is a bit of an anomaly in Doctor Who. The webcast from 2003 was supposed to be the canonical continuation of the classic series, but the revived series was announced shortly before it was released, making it no longer canon. Richard E. Grant's Ninth Doctor only appeared on screen for this one adventure, but there were plans for 2 more serials in Season 1, and on top of that there were other cancelled stories for this Doctor, an untold origin story for this Doctor, and some other little tidbits along the way, and that's what we'll be talking about today. First, let's talk about the only other published adventure with this version of the Doctor, The Feast of the Stone. The Feast of the Stone was a short story released online after Scream of the Shalka that was written by Cavan Scott and Mark Wright. It shows the Shalka Doctor, Allison, and the Master landing in a large cave that they discover is filled with a species that's sort of like psychic vampires feeding off their emotions. It's not a bad story, though the ending is a little weird. It does drop some further hints to a deeper backstory for the Doctor and the Master, however, continuing on from some light referencing by the Master in Scream of the Shalka. What was this backstory? Well, Paul Cornell, the writer of Scream of the Shalka, wrote a backstory for this Doctor and Master that never made it to screen because producer James Goss and other people working on Shalka told Cornell to not reference any deeper lore of the series. But since then, this backstory has been released. It goes as follows. The Doctor had retired home to Gallifrey and fallen in love with the daughter of the president of the Time Lords. Gallifrey was invaded by aliens and the Time Lords retreated into the Matrix. The Doctor bargained with the life of the woman he loved and she was killed. The Master helped defeat the aliens, but his physical body was destroyed. In return for his help, the Doctor stored the Master's mind in a robot body made of TARDIS materials. The Time Lords, now trapped inside the Matrix, punished the Doctor for the death of the President's daughter by sending him into exile, using him to solve dangerous problems in the universe. That synopsis was written by Paul Scoons based off of notes given to him by Paul Cornell. It's interesting to look at this and compare it to the Time War backstory of the new series. Like I said in my Scream of the Shalka review, there are a lot of similarities between the two, and it's really the general approach that gives the new series an edge, but you can watch my full review on Scream of the Shalka for details on that. So now we know what happened to this Doctor prior to Shalka. What happens after? I mean, besides Feast of the Stone. Well, there were plans for 2 more serials after this one. The second serial was going to be Blood of the Robots, another 6-part story. This serial was written by Simon Clarke, who had previously written the Doctor Who Telos novella, The Dalek Factor, which is potentially why he was asked to write the story. It wasn't officially cancelled until February of 2004, and by that time draft scripts of the first 4 episodes were written, as well as story outlines for the remaining 2. Without going into exhaustive detail, it was a story set on a planet that's essentially a scrap heap of old robots. Some of them still function and have formed a sort of new life on this planet, but something sinister is secretly going on. It's really a story about what it means to be human, and if you want to learn about it in more detail, I'd highly suggest reading the Black Archive book on Scream of the Shalka from Shalka-Verse Books, written by John Arnold. Anyway, what would the third and final story be? Well, we don't know. It was never decided, but there were multiple story pitches for the second serial that were turned down, and it's possible that one of these might have been refined and reworked into the third serial. So let's go through these pitches. Paul Cornell pitched his idea for a second serial that was rejected and later reworked into a story for the 2006 Doctor Who annual called The Masks of Makassar. This story conceives a world where everyone's connected through masks they wear that share their thoughts as a community. But it turns out the ruler of this planet, Makassar, is influencing and controlling people with them, and the Doctor has to stop him. Stephen Baxter, who would later write the Doctor Who book The Wheel of Ice, also pitched this serial follow-up to Shalka. Not much is known about it, but James Goss described it as a magical version of the Dead Planet, the first episode of the Daleks. This probably means it would have been a story of the TARDIS crew arriving on an alien planet and slowly uncovering its secrets. The final cancelled story is The Kingmaker by Jonathan Clements, who had previously written the Big Finish Unbound story Sympathy for the Devil. He would later write a few more Big Finish audios, including Immortal Beloved, which, in a similar case to The Masks of Makassar, was based off of these cancelled plans. The Kingmaker would have taken place on a planet called Calava, a place that was colonized by humans long ago and is ruled over by two warring sets of gods: the Flesh, which favor evolution through genetic engineering, and the Metal, which favor evolution through artificial means. The Doctor and friends would have to stop the gods from performing a human sacrifice with the help of a young genetic clone of the aging God King. It's kind of out there, but probably would have been interesting to see. So what do you think? Does the Shalka-Verse feel a lot bigger than before you clicked on the video? A Doctor which only had 1 or 2 stories actually has 6, and a backstory that went unpublished for years. Let me know if you would have wanted to see these ideas played out in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for daily videos on the franchises you love, including 3 Doctor Who videos a week in the month of November, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.